If you're not making at least $10,000 a month online yet, it's not because you're lazy. And to contradict the hustle culture, bros, it's not because you don't want it bad enough. It's simply because you just don't know what you're actually doing. And I don't mean that as an insult to you, but rather, no one actually teaches this stuff online. And just by clicking this video alone, you've proved that you probably do care. You probably do want it bad enough. And it probably annoys you that you're not where you want to be yet. So there's three simple steps or layers to this. And if you follow the three steps or the three layers, then you'll make a lot of money. And if you don't, then you won't make a lot of money. And I can swear by these three layers because it's these three layers that allowed me to go from zero on government welfare to $3,000 in a few months to making over $36,000 in a single month, which allowed me to win Alex Hormozi's school games, where he literally invited me to Las Vegas 2 times, by the way, to go and meet him and mastermind with him, all in under 12 months. All right, that's 12 months at age 20. So I swear by these three layers. They've changed my life, and I hope that in this video, they're going to change your life too. So without further ado, what we'll do is we'll jump onto the computer. I'm going to share my screen, and I want to show you each layer step by step and really break it down in depth. So the first thing you need to understand if you want to make $10,000 a month is you only need 2 to 3 hours per day. And when I say this, most people, they just don't believe me. And that's because they've been conditioned from day one to believe that the only way to make money is you give a certain amount of hours away and you're paid in return for those hours. And that's true for a job. If you work 2 to 3 hours per day, you probably won't make $10,000 a month. But as an entrepreneur, you don't get paid for the time you put in. You get paid for the value that you provide. And this means if you work a job, you can put those 2 to 3 hours aside. And if you're in school, you can put those 2 to 3 hours aside and you can make $10,000 a month. And even with this said, people will come up to me and they'll say, I don't have time, right? I don't have 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm not privileged enough. And my reply to these people is all the same. You don't have a time problem. You have a priority problem. If you can't fit in 2 to 3 hours of work every single day, it's not a time problem, it's a priority problem. And the reason I can say this is because I can prove it. If we look at the average person's day, okay, let's say they sleep about 8 hours per day, which is pretty healthy if you ask me. This recommended amount is about 7 to 9. So that's nicely in between there. And you work 9 hours at your job or school or whatever else you do. And that obviously accommodates 8 hours for work and then 1 hour for the commute, like in total. So that's pretty fair. And then let's say you're really healthy and you want to go to the gym every single day for 2 hours and you want to train every day. Well, this leaves you with about 5 hours free. Okay, so this only adds up to about, 19 hours. So this leaves you with 5 hours free every single day. So it boggles my mind when people come up to me and they say they don't have time, because this is how people actually spend their 5 hours, and they'll have the fucking balls to say, I don't have time, okay? So they'll watch like sports, movies, TV, they'll play video games, they doom scroll, they'll go smoking and drinking with their buddies, or they might just sit down and watch porn. Or like the worst one of all is they just pick up random hobbies. Like they start learning how to play the guitar, or they will say, I want to learn how to shuffle a deck of cards in a nice way, or I want to learn the piano, or I want to learn how to do a handstand. And all of these are distractions, because if money is a genuine constraint in your life, which if you're watching this video, I'm assuming it is, why would you buy a guitar and start learning how to play the guitar? Like, yeah, sure, you'll probably be able to pick up some hippie chicks, but other than that, if money is a genuine constraint in your life, why would that be the best use of your time? Fix the money issue first, because the truth is, once you get rich, those 9 hours that you're giving away to your job, you get them back. Sure, bro. Like if you want to learn to play the guitar, by all means, at that point, once you got those nine hours back, do what you want. But if you're just someone who's starting out, you can't be wasting any of your time doing these things. So what's the solution here? Okay, I'll give you the solution. Cut all of these things off. No more TV, no more movies, no more video games, no more doing none of these things, no more going out with your buddies, nothing. Okay, and people are going to say that's extreme, and it probably is extreme. But the fact that you're saying you want to be in the top 1 to 5% of earners in 3 to 6 months, in 12 months, that's also extreme. Okay? So the extreme results require extreme effort. And that's just the truth here. If you're not willing to cut these things out, then you're probably not serious about getting rich. Okay? So just cut all of these distractions off. And I promise you, you're going to free up that time and you'll be able to dedicate those 2 to 3 hours, which leads perfectly to the next thing, which is how to use the 5 hours. Well, here's what I recommend, okay? 2 to 3 hours, you do deep work. So that's like deep focused work, which we'll talk about next. And this is gonna make you money. And then you wanna spend 1 to 2 hours per day just gaining knowledge. Like that's it. And now you've got the time. How do you get the most out of it? And that's exactly what we're talking about in layer number 2. So for the second layer, the question is, how do you actually get the most out of the 2 to 3 hours? And it's simple. You need to set the goal of doing 2 to 3 hours of deep work. And what deep work is, it's essentially when you're working in the flow state. So the flow state is when you're absolutely dialed in, you're at 100% concentration, and you can just keep doing work uninterrupted. Your creative mind is at its best, your focus is at its best, and you're essentially producing maximum output in the time that you do. So think of it as your efficiency, okay? Your efficiency for the time you do actually goes up. And to enter this flow state, it takes about 10 to 20 minutes on average. Like you can Google this shit, I'm not lying. And you sit down for 10 to 20 minutes, uninterrupted, you do your work, and then all of a sudden you're tapping this flow state. The work will feel easier, it will feel effortless, and you can just concentrate. So the way I like to think of this is like an exercise at the gym, okay? So we got our boy David Lade, we all love him, doing some bench press here. Let's say he was going for a set of 12, okay? Those first maybe 5 or 7 reps, they don't really count. You don't really feel anything. You're just going through the motion. But it's those maybe last 5 reps where you really start to feel the pump. You really start feeling the muscle fatigue and you feel the muscle breaking down. But you wouldn't get that effect if it wasn't for the first few reps, okay? Even though the last few count, it's because of the first few. And it's exactly the same when you're trying to sit down in those 2 to 3 hours and do your work. If you don't lock in for the first 10 to 20 minutes, then the rest of the time becomes unimportant because you're unable to do anything. So what most people do, okay, instead of being like our boy David Lade and banging out 7 reps before he goes for another 5 hard, they just do this, okay? So they sit at their desk, they work for like 5 to 10 minutes and then they check their phone, or they go get a snack, okay? And I've been guilty of this one. You know, you just open the fridge and just see if there's any snacks, and then just get whatever, okay? So they'll check their phone, they'll get a Pop-Tart, or they'll just do random shit, like they'll sit down and be like, oh shit, I forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer, and they'll go do that. Or they'll say, fuck, I forgot to do my laundry, or fuck, I forgot to take my protein shake, my fucking protein shake out of my gym bag and it's gonna stink. And they'll stand up and they'll go do the most random shit. Like people would do anything but work, okay? Don't do this, because if you do this, you're not able to tap into the flow state. So you would have quit watching movies, quit playing video games, quit watching porn, quit going out with your buddies, just to sit down at your desk and do nothing. It's like you may as well have just picked up the guitar and learned how to pick up fucking hippie chicks, like, you know. But if you're gonna sacrifice all those things, then don't do this. You wanna learn how to get into the flow state. So if you think about it, right, and this is where it gets like really deep. Let's say you sit at your desk for like 3 to 4 hours, right? 2 to 4 hours, whatever you want to do. And by tapping in and out of the flow state, you're probably doing like 20 to 30 minutes of real work. And you know this to be true because how many times have you sat down for a few hours saying, I'm going to lock in on business, and then you get away from your desk and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even do anything. And that feeling, it fucking hurts. And I know because I've been there. And if you're doing 20 to 30 minutes of work in about 3 to 4 hours, you're only 10% efficient. Okay? And if you tap into the flow state, you can go 80% efficient, 90% efficient. And imagine you had an employee in your business and you were paying this person and he was only 10% efficient. His ass is getting fired. Like, I'm just being completely honest with you. And it's not going to be a nice one of like, oh, Jim, come to the office. And then I talk to him and then I say to him, yeah, man, unfortunately, we got to let you go. I'm saying you're a fucking dickhead. You wasted my money. Your ass is fired. Okay? And you have an opportunity from God to make $10,000 a month when you're currently not there and you're currently in a position that you hate because, as I said, you're watching this video and you think it's okay to be 10% efficient. And what really boggles my mind is the fact that you will go to your job and you will be 70%, 80%, 90%, maybe even 100% efficient, 100% efficient for minimum wage, $2,000, $3,000. But when God gives you that opportunity to make $10,000 a month, you're 10% efficient. Like, that's absolute fuckery, okay? You have a severe case of fuck around itis, okay? So the way I like to visualize this graph, let's say the bottom part here is like your focus and deep work, okay? So this would be like 90%. And then here's your results, your money, your success, that kind of thing, okay? It's not until you're at 90% focus that your business actually takes off. Meaning if you're working at like 10, 20% efficiency, yeah, you might have some small motion, you might be progressing, but nothing's really changed. And it's not until you're at 90% that your life just really takes off and your business takes off and you're able to quit your job, you're able to quit university or whatever the fuck you do, and you're just able to enjoy your life. Okay? So this is how important it is. So fuck 10% efficiency. Turn your phone off, put all the distractions away, cut all those bad things we spoke about earlier for this period of your life, lock in, do 10 to 20 minutes of work uninterrupted, and just learn how to focus. And it's not going to be easy at first because your brain is so fried right now that you probably need an extreme dopamine detox. And by the way, if you want my dopamine detox protocol, just comment below and I'll make a video about that. And it's not until you're at 90% efficiency, 90% focus, deep work, that you're able to actually win, okay? So that's how important this is. And so what's the solution to this? Simple. Pick one task required in your business, work on it uninterrupted, no phone, no switching tasks, no distractions, no nothing. 10 to 20 minutes of just pure focus. And then from that point, once you've entered the flow state, and trust me, you'll feel it, just continue what you're doing. That's it. It's as easy as that. So for the third layer, we need to get something straight, okay? I want to ask you a question. What's the purpose of starting a business? What's the purpose of starting a business? What's the core reason that you woke up and thought, you know what, I want to start a business? Simple. To make money. That's it. The purpose of a business is to put money in your pocket. If you do anything that's not putting money in your pocket, then I'm sorry, you're fucking around. Because what people will do is they'll get these 2 to 3 hours, they'll learn how to focus, they'll be able to do deep work. But then I ask like 99% of entrepreneurs, like, well, what are you actually doing in this time? Like, you know, it's amazing, you all this progress. And it will look something like this. They'll say something like, I'm coming up with names for my business, or I'm making a logo on Canva, or I'm making a website, or I'm registering an LLC, or I'm watching a free YouTube course on XYZ, or, oh bro, I'm playing around with ChatGPT and I got a really cool prompt. Or even worse, they go on Instagram and they put CEO in their bio. It's like, you're meant to be sitting down making money, and to impress some chicks that don't even fucking like you, you're going on Instagram and you're putting CEO of a aesthetic small business name idea and acting like you're making some money, or you're acting like you're making a fucking impact on space, time, and in your life. But the truth is you're doing nothing. The problem with all of these things is they don't get you paid. And remember, the core reason you start a business is to get paid. That's it. You want to make $10,000 a month. So what you need to do instead is you need to spend 80 to 90% of your time, 80 to 90% of your effort on what I call revenue generating activities. So these are things, these are activities that make you money, that generate revenue, that generate money. So if we look at an average business, well, what is that? That's going to be advertising whatever you sell. So if you're like an online coach, that's going to be making content, booking calls and selling to the people. If you're an agency owner, it's going to be making content, doing outreach, getting those people on a call and selling to them. That's what you should spend 80 to 90% of your time on. Because we can say, yeah, but you know, the name and the logo, that's important. Let's go back to iPhone for a second, okay? This iPhone, and by the way, if you don't have an iPhone, then I don't know what you're doing, okay? Like, man the fuck up and get one. But this iPhone is made by a company called Apple. Like, these motherfuckers genuinely sat down and they said, okay, what's the first letter of the alphabet? A. A for Apple. We'll call it Apple now. Let's make a fucking cool phone. That's exactly what they did. What's the logo gonna be? We'll just do an apple with a bite out of it. All right, fuck that shit. Let's make a cool phone. Let's get paid. And that's exactly what they did. And that's why Apple is worth trillions. Yet aesthetic small business name idea agency underscore motherfucker is broke. Because he thinks it's more important to spend time on the name and the logo than the actual business. None of those things are important. Nobody cares about the name. They care about the value that they're gonna get. And that's all that they want. So what you need to do is you need to spend 80 to 90% of your time on tasks that are going to make you money. As I said, what this is probably going to be is content, outreach, and sales. Like, I genuinely don't think there's anything else. Like, once you've established the foundation of your business, you know your niche, you know your offer, you know what you're going to sell, spend 80 to 90% of your time on these three things, and that's it. So those are the 3 layers in this video. If you follow the 3 layers, I promise you're going to make a lot of money. And if you don't follow the 3 layers, then you won't make any money. And if you want my personal help on reaching $10,000 a month profit by starting your own consulting or coaching business, then click the first link in the description. I'm going to put my calendar. You'll be able to book a call with me. We'll jump on a call. We'll talk about your situation. We'll talk about how I can help you. And then if it sounds right, you can join my paid mentorship where I'll personally mentor you one-to-one until you're on $10,000 a month, okay? So those are the 3 layers. Stick to them. If you stick to them, you'll get rich. If you don't stick to them, you'll get poor. Click the first link in the description. And with that said, I'll see you on tomorrow's video.